All right, so we are going to share, before we start the sermon, we're going to have a short video just to prepare for the message by Pastor Donia. So if you know the song, you're welcome to sing along. Otherwise, just you can listen and reflect and just take it all in.
You call me out upon the waters, the great unknown, where feet may fail. And there I find you in the mystery, in oceans deep, my faith will stand.
Good morning, everyone. Isn't that a beautiful song? I think it came out about 4 or 5 months ago, and however I hear it on the radio, I'm just in love with it. And I imagine that someday I could sing it as an offering song here in service, but my voice is not yet at that place. So I was happy to have an opportunity where it fit with the service and I could play it for you. So today my topic is on changes and transitions. And I know everybody is in a different place in their life, but I know for myself, I feel like I'm in a lot of changes, a lot of different things happening. You know, in this past week, my kids finished up school, and Mia graduated from kindergarten, and now I'm looking at the summertime and wondering what on earth am I going to do with 4 kids all summer long. A little bit nervous. You know, we attended Sam's graduation a couple weeks ago. I know many of you have graduated or have people you know graduating, and that's a time of transition, right? Where you've been in school for like 16 years of your life, and now, you know, looking at getting a job and doing something entirely new and entirely different. Also, some of you may know Lori Schultz. She found this was her spiritual home here in Colorado, and she just passed on to the spirit world this week. And I know that that's a time of transition for her and for her family, and for those of us who know her to transition to a time where she's not part of our physical life anymore. So all of this was just happening, you know, in this last week, 2 weeks, and I was really thinking, this is really a time of transition. But actually, what part of our life isn't a time of transition and change, you know? So I realized that actually I can be very resistant to changes. I was even just thinking about the summer and the kids. Part of me just keeps wishing that we could just stay in our regular schedule and everything would continue the way it is. And here I am. Tomorrow's Monday and there's no school tomorrow. and I'm like, oh, I'm not ready for this. You know, I'm resistant to change. Sometimes we don't want to let go of people when they pass on. We're resistant to living without them. Maybe you're resistant to making changes in your health. Maybe you're resistant to the summertime. I know just the heat. You know, sometimes I feel like, oh, I just want to wear my sweater. I want to wear my scarf. It's so comfy, and I'm, you know, we get this feeling of like dread. Oh, I don't want to deal with the heat. And we're resistant to what's coming, no matter what we do. I feel like it seems like it's human nature to want to resist change. But I was thinking it must not be our original human nature to resist change, right? Because God created us as babies, and to grow up, we have to change. And as we go through life, we have to change. God doesn't want us to remain the same person that we are now 10 years from now. Even if we are mature, even if we are grown up, I'm sure God doesn't have it in mind for us to have the same experiences over and over again, go to the same restaurants and eat the same food over and over and over again, you know, take the same route to work every single day and never see the beauty of the next neighborhood over. You know, God created us. I really believe God created us to be constantly discovering and to be constantly having new experiences and to be constantly growing. So I thought this must be, I feel like it's rampant in humanity, but it must be our fallen nature to not want to take the next step forward, to be resistant to the things that are coming and to resist change. It must be something we acquire by being separate from God. So changes happen and we can't avoid them. So what kind of attitude should we have towards their situations in our life? I have actually quite a few quotes in this sermon, so I hope that you can really absorb them and feel that God is speaking through them. But this is a quote from our founder, Reverend Moon. We must look at how the water runs down from the mountaintop. It will encounter many obstacles. Actually, just on a side note, this past week, Mike got a gold panning kit. and we went up to Clear Creek to go gold panning, you know. And man, the water is rushing. And we saw some kayakers going down, and I'm like offering up a prayer for their safety on the way down. But for the water to get from the mountaintop to the ocean, there's many obstacles. If we compare our lives to that stream of water, then where are we in that stream? Can the drops of water say, I hate to pound down the cliff? At the top of the cliff, you must get ready and say to yourself, it's thrilling. I want to jump down from this cliff and reach the ocean as soon as possible. If you are eager, then you will succeed and attain your purpose. So I think this is really underscoring the fact that this is where we're going, right? Life is continuing. We are going to experience many things. So what kind of attitude are we going to have towards our life? I think I shared a couple weeks ago, I recently reviewed the Landmark Forum, and there's this one activity which I really love that we do during this. And they call somebody up to the front, and they say, okay, you have two choices. You can have chocolate ice cream, or you can have vanilla ice cream. Chocolate or vanilla, choose. And the point is that we need to make choices in our life freely and after consideration, but that we freely and happily choose what we like. And so, but then they say, but life actually isn't like that. We don't get chocolate and vanilla. It's chocolate, choose. Many times we don't have a choice of what happens in our life, but we still need to choose it. We still need to choose what is in front of us, even if there's not multiple choices, right? We need to freely choose what happens in our life. I think that if we were really open to feeling God's presence in our life, you know, if we really knew with certainty that God is our parent, that God is with us, that God has a vision for our life, and that God is guiding us in our life, then we wouldn't really have a reason to fear the unknown. We wouldn't have a reason to fear the next step in our life. Here's a couple of quotes from the Bible. I've shared this one a few times, but I love it. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. God's like, I know the plans I have for you. Come on. And then this one, see, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland. I think it's so interesting that this sentence is in here. Do you not perceive it? It's like you can tell that there's this feeling of, can't you see what I'm doing for you? What you are seeing is the wilderness. What you are seeing is the wasteland. But see what I'm doing. I'm leading you. You may feel like you're walking into the wilderness. You might feel like you're being led into the wasteland. But see what I'm doing. I'm doing a new thing. This is something you're not familiar with. You might not be comfortable with it. And you may not see yet the spring that's about to sprout out of the wasteland. But like it says here, there. I have plans for you, plans for welfare, to give you a future and a hope. So I think we're all in that situation. We all have to choose our life. Every day, actually. I mean, there's the big things that happen where we have to choose my sickness. I have to choose summer is coming. I have to choose I'm going to be home with my kids all summer. But there's also the simple daily things. I get up in the morning and maybe I have a headache. Am I going to resist that I have a headache today? I shouldn't have a headache. There's something wrong here. I'm just going to be mad all day because I had a headache. Or, well, I have a headache today, so what am I going to do? You know, I got to choose. This is my situation, and then what can I do with that situation? So that's one type of choice, you know, where we have life that happens to us, and we have to choose it. But there are also other types of changes and transitions that we go through, where we actually do have a choice, or it seems like we have a choice in what we do or not do. And then how do we deal with those? So, how many of you know that there's a change that you should be making, or that you say that you want to make, and it just hasn't happened yet? Okay, me too. Yeah, humans are, I think, some of the best procrastinators. I don't think there are other species who procrastinate the things that they know that they should do. But we're the best procrastinators when it comes to doing things that we say that we want to do, or, oh, I really should do that, you know? But change is uncomfortable, and most of us would prefer to stay where we are familiar with everything, where we are comfortable, and where we know what to expect, even if it's not where we really want to be. Like, I'm not really super happy in my situation, but I'm not really super excited to get out of my comfort zone and do something that I think I should be doing. I thought this was so interesting. I found this quote from Reverend Moon, and I never thought I'd hear this out of his mouth, but here it is. I'll tell you one thing very clearly. If there is a place to escape to and hide from this life, one clever person would have already done it, and that is me. I packed many times and tried to find a place to go and hide. But I found no place to go, so I unpacked again. You and I have a common destiny. Do not think that you are in one group and I am in another. No, we are in the same boat. However you think is precisely how I have been thinking. So we all have this tendency, but what I love here is that when Father realizes that there's actually no other place to go, then he just does it. Whereas I think many of us, we try to maybe avoid taking responsibility, or we don't want to see the reality that's outside our front door. But instead of recognizing that and then unpacking and saying, okay, let's deal with it, we still kind of pretend not to see it. We still don't really want to take responsibility for what we are doing to ourselves sometimes, or with what's going on. But I really love this, that, this is our tendency. This is our life. But I love that Father's like, okay, this is the way it is, but let's deal with it. Let's go out and do it. So we can actually avoid some changes in the moment. I think as human beings, we really like to be in control. And we can actually control a lot of things in our life. I think that's one special gift of human beings, is that God gives us responsibility. God gives us free will. God gives us our choice. However, when we avoid making the changes that we know that we should be making, we actually don't really avoid it, because we will have to make a transition at some point later in life. So let me take the example of health. I know that some of you, actually myself also, have at times feel like, I really should be eating healthier. I really shouldn't take this piece of cake. I really should get my exercise, and it's something that a transition that we think we should be making, but we put it off and we kind of want to turn a blind eye to that reality. So we can choose not to do that. However, if we leave it unchecked, isn't there some change or transition that's going to happen further down that we can't avoid? and this is definitely not a judgment, but about a month ago, Reverend Rendell had a heart attack. And it was such a wake-up call for him. He said, I really need to take care of myself. I need to take care of myself for my wife. I need to take care of myself for my family, for my sub-region, for True Parents. There's so much that I have to offer, and I almost lost it all because I wasn't taking care of myself. So that's when you're forced to make that transition, right? But that's a scary transition to make. Perhaps you're not so lucky. You don't get the second chance, and then you have to transition to the spirit world. That's a transition to make too. So we don't actually get to avoid these changes in our life. Sometimes we can ignore them for a little while, or we can choose to not deal with it right now. But we never actually get to avoid total responsibility. We never get to avoid transitions and changes entirely. Or maybe you've been wanting to change the way you relate to your spouse. Maybe you've been wanting to change the way you react when they say that certain something that they always say at that certain time of day. So you can actually avoid, making that change. You can just react the way you always react. But you might be forced to accept a change or a transition later. Many people, you and I know people who find themselves facing a divorce. And at that point, for many of them, there's nothing they can do to go back and change the things that they, in the back of their mind, knew that they should have been changing years before. And it's hard to accept that they are actually partially responsible for where they're at. Or maybe it's a different case scenario. Maybe your spouse is now dragging you to the marriage retreat coming up next month, which is fantastic, by the way. But it's also different. Maybe it's more uncomfortable. Maybe it's something you're not really looking forward to. Or it's just something different that you weren't planning on doing. We always have to come back to taking responsibility at some point for our choices or lack of choices. However, if we have the right attitude towards changes that come at us in our life, whether it's chocolate choose or you get to choose from vanilla or chocolate, if we have the right attitude, then actually blessings come with these changes. Here's another quote from Reverend Moon. How to digest and conquer your environment is the question. Don't ever try to escape from life, but feel challenged and persevere on your way. On an uneven road, ups and downs are to be expected. But where there are peaks, there are valleys at another time. When you find yourself in a dungeon, you must expect that in the next moment, God will bless you with the most grace. This is from Ecclesiastes. Better is the end of a thing than its beginning. And the patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit. Be not quick in your spirit to become angry, for anger lodges in the bosom of fools. Say not, why were the former days better than these? For it is not from wisdom that you ask this. Wisdom is good with an inheritance, an advantage to those who see the sun. So I'm sure you can think of some examples in your own life also where you accepted a change or you decided to make a big change, even though it was uncomfortable, even though it was stressful, and then you experienced blessing that you didn't know that you could experience. Like a surprise. It just abundant grace and blessing that you didn't even know that you could experience because you did it, but you did it. I know that when I've chosen to make a change, some of the best blessings have come to my life. I was thinking, actually, I don't think I've ever shared this, but when Mike and I were first blessed, and we'd talk about the topic of having kids. And in my mind, of course, like I wanted to have kids someday, but I really wasn't eager to have kids anytime soon. I was like, okay, well, let me finish college, and you know, once we're financially stable, and maybe once we've done some more traveling, but I mean, those are kind of my rational excuses. But in reality, I was just kind of scared. That was because I know that's something that's going to change your whole life. That's something, a big responsibility to have children and to raise them, you know, throughout their life. Yeah, I actually wanted to avoid it for a long time, about as long as I could avoid it for. However, we had twins pretty early on in our relationship. But when it actually happened, when I took the pregnancy test and I saw the positive line comes up, I had nothing but just like excitement and joy and enthusiasm and just looking forward to what would come next. And that is really what it has been. Of course, there's challenges, but you know, I felt like when that moment came, I really chose it. I was really so excited to take on that responsibility, really excited to totally shift my direction in life from where I thought I was going with school and work and everything to becoming a parent. But I just chose it, and I can say that being a mother and having those twins is really one of my most exciting, most fulfilling roles in my life. One of the best blessings of my life. Also, you know, making the choice and the transition to come here and become pastors for the Colorado Family Church. It was something where for a while I was really going back and forth about. I had a lot of reasons why it wouldn't be a good idea. But, you know, we weighed our pros and cons. And there was still a lot of cons, but we really felt, actually, if we were to do this, we don't know that good things would happen, but there is a potential for so much good to happen. And we weighed our options, but we freely chose to come and to invest and do it without strings attached. And that has also been one of the greatest blessings in our life. And we've experienced huge amounts of fulfillment in being here. People ask us, you know, well, how is it being pastors? And they ask with this, like, are you okay kind of tone in their voice, like, how are you guys holding up, you know? And we're like, actually, you know, we love this more than, we are enjoying this more than we thought we were going to. And we had good ideas of what could happen, but actually it's like above and beyond what we expected it could be. And people are always like, wow. I think it's a little bit mind-blowing for people to hear that, but really, I feel like we chose it. We made the transition eager to jump off the cliff and go to the heart of the ocean. So I feel like God has really been able to bless us with a kind of attitude. So, you know, we aren't meant to stay the way we are now. We're not designed to live that way. We're meant to continue discovering and growing and learning and developing, you know, growing in our relationships with each other, and growing in our relationship with God. This is one more quote I have here, and then a final point to make. The person who is capable of going deep down into the valley is also capable of jumping to the pinnacle of the mountain. The pinnacle is never linked to another pinnacle, but to the valley. And together they have a common destiny. This is a universal principle. Those in the valley can one day come to the pinnacle of the mountain. I like this. The person who is capable of going deep down the valley is also capable of jumping to the pinnacle of the mountain. If you were to take this and invert it, you could also say that, you know, if you're not willing to accept the difficult path that we sometimes have to walk, we're also not equipping ourselves to receive the blessings and the joy that we want in life. I feel like it's kind of like God is preparing this big, beautiful feast at his home. He's preparing and he's making a way for us. But sometimes we just kind of stand at the door and it's like, hey, when is God going to open the door for me to come to the feast? You know, we have to be willing to knock and we have to be willing to open, or we have to be willing to make the journey to God's house where the feast is waiting. So I think there's two basic points that I felt really come out, even just this morning as I was listening to, the offering song, is that in our life, God calls us out upon the water. Where sometimes we feel like our feet may fail and fear surrounds us, but God is calling us out. And we need to trust that God has our best interests in his heart and best interests for us in our life. And if we know that, if we believe that God is a loving God, if we believe that God is our parent, personally, that I myself am God's child, then I know that God is preparing something good for me. So I need to trust. And even if I don't see the wells springing out of the wasteland, I can trust that if I go forward and if I choose it, if I do it with joy and I do it with perseverance, that I know that this might be a valley, but there is a pinnacle that is coming. So part of this is about trust, but the other part is also that we have our own responsibility, right? God can prepare the feast, but we have our own responsibility to get there. I feel like sometimes I feel like it's a curse that we've got this, we want to have this control over our life, and that God gives us the free will and the ability to choose to avoid our path. But actually, it's a blessing that God gives us the free will and ability to choose our path and to go towards God. So wherever you are at in your life, if you're at the pinnacle or if you're in the valley, if you're at the pinnacle, don't just try to stay at the pinnacle. You say, oh, I got a good view from here. I don't want to move my feet because then it might change. Even if you feel like it's a good place, we don't want to be there forever, right? There's something greater. There's something exciting around the corner. And sometimes it might be challenging, but it's okay to go down into the valley. And if you're in the valley, trust that there's a pinnacle up ahead. Whatever path we're on, whatever life is throwing at us, or whatever choices we've been avoiding to make, if we can make them, then we'll be moving on our path towards the pinnacle. Actually, I just thought of another song. If you're listening to the Christian radio, there's a song about how about on the mountain I will give my life to the one who sent me there. In the valley I will lift my eyes to the one who sees me there. It's a really beautiful song too, so you can look up that one if you hear it. It's a great one for this analogy. But yeah, I think the point is that wherever you are at, it is okay. Just don't stay there. Keep moving. So I'm going to offer a prayer, and then we have a little special ceremony to finish up our service. And please remain in prayer. Most beloved Heavenly Parent, good morning. Thank you for a beautiful day that we have, our sunshine, the families that we have here gathered, the community that we get to experience, the love that is overflowing in this place because of people who are here centered on you. Heavenly Parent, each one of us has our own situation in life, our own path that is in front of us, a path that we have to choose. Heavenly Parent, I pray that we can remember that you are guiding our steps, that you have prepared blessings and joy and infinite love for us. And I pray that we can believe in that, more than we believe in our own limitations, or we believe in our fear, Heavenly Parent. I pray that we can keep our eyes on you, keep our eyes above the waves, and really welcome you into our hearts and into our daily life, whatever it is that we face, Heavenly Parent. Thank you so much. I want to offer this prayer and this day to you in my name, Michael and Donia Hendrick, the Blessed Central Family, Aju. Can you grab the gifts?
All right, so before we finish service, we do have something a little bit special that we'd like to do today. And speaking of changes and transitions, we are going through some, and we really need to recognize a couple people in our community who are transitioning from roles that they've held for many years. And I think it's really important that when we have people in our community who've given a lot, that we make at least some effort to really recognize and appreciate them. So we have two people, and I'd like to invite them to come up on the stage for a very short time. Duke DeWong, would you please come up? And Ryoko Okada, would you please come up? Duke was here yesterday. It wasn't even part of the original plan for the Spring Refresh, but they brought their carpet cleaning machine, and they literally carpet cleaned the entire building. It took hours. It was unexpected, but badly needed. And anyway, Duke, maybe some of you don't know, but Duke has been in charge of our finance committee for 16 years, something like that. And, if you don't know what that means, it kind of means a little bit of everything. It means, especially going through this time when the leadership kind of made all the decisions financially, whether, anyone else liked it or not. Duke many times had to be the guy who said, maybe that's not the best way to spend money, or, we're gushing money over here, what can we do? And I think that at times he took a lot of, it was kind of maybe felt like an unnecessary burden, but we are able to stand on a solid financial situation because of people like Duke who gave of their limited time to serve the church and to serve our community. And I, for one, really grateful because, it's because of that we can come and we can do things like, invest into our properties and have these nice events and be able to spend money to a certain degree, not worrying about like going into the black or the red, sorry. God forbid. But we have rental properties that have been taken care of. They provide us income. We don't have to rely completely on tithing, and it's just been a huge blessing. And Duke is transitioning out now, and we have a new finance ministry coming in, and we have a small gift of appreciation, and it obviously nothing to compare to the actual effort, but we want to thank you. Yes. And Ryoko-san has been our faithful bookkeeper for over 10 years. And yes. And it's a thankless job. She comes in every week. She does all the data. She looks at all the money, how it's being used, how it's being spent, who's tithing and who's not tithing. And you get to see all that, and it can be really easy to, make judgments. Yeah, and she's just been there serving and doing it and not complaining. And we asked her to step down last month and to bring in a new bookkeeper, and she was like, yeah, I was starting to feel like, because we're doing new things like online donations and things like that, and she's saying, yeah, I'm starting to feel like I'm kind of holding things back. So I was really touched by that. I was like, she's already thinking like, if I can't do my jobs as well as I'd like to, then it'd be better for someone else to. So we're just really grateful to you, Ryoko-san, and we hope that you can accept this small gift of appreciation. Let's give him one more round of applause. Thank you. Thank you so much. So we had a really fantastic spring refresh yesterday. Thank you so much for everyone for coming. Counted afterwards, we had 128 people. I possibly might have missed somebody, but yeah. And we just got a ton done, and it was, we got the bouncy house at 9, and then kids were still playing in it at 3. So some of the same kids. So it was, I think it was a lot of fun, and I just want to share a few pictures to really highlight the event. Yeah, so this was a consistent theme of the day, smiles and fun, and it was really look all the little different ages together in that little kiddie pool. A lot of work. We had a lot of projects, and we did a lot of work, and sand and repaint these railings. It's really been needing to be done for a long time. Life-size sort of Jenga, depending on how big you are. And projects, we took down that fence, filled in the holes. I'm really excited to see how the overall look is once, the park is finished and that fence is down. And yeah, a lot of smiling faces, a lot of work, a lot of multi-generational, like a lot of people came together to work together regardless of how old you were. It didn't matter. So it was really awesome. We did some landscaping type work in the front. See Hua-Jung and Justine there. And tree trimming. Andrew did a great job. Oh, that's in there twice. And the Yoders, they just did a fantastic job with the barbecue. They actually were going to go on a trip, and they were going to be gone yesterday, but they moved their trip back a day just so that they could come and work. It's really awesome. Yeah, and they fed everyone with a really great heart. It was awesome. Yeah, the girls did a great job painting. That room looks really fantastic down there. We're going to put the floor down soon, so it's going to transform that room completely. They did a great job. We did some sanding and staining tables. Anissa did a great job with that, and Ben helped out there too. So that's going to be really awesome. We're going to start replacing some of our tables downstairs pretty soon. And more fun, more smiles. A lot of water. We used a lot of water. And yeah, we fixed up some of those AC units outside. And even the people who came that were invited as guests, as friends, they worked really hard. We had a friend come from the community garden down the street, and she spent half an hour trying to clean out one of our AC units, just vacuuming and trying to scrub off some of the dirt and stuff that was in there. So it was just really awesome. And Margot and Oli, sanding and prepping these rails so we can paint them. Oh, whoops, yes. So yeah. So it was really awesome. So please give yourselves a round of applause. And I was really moved, actually. It was really great. So we have a couple graduations that I want to recognize. First of all, Ruta, who is here today with us. I guess Ruta and Krista, you're both here for the summer, right? At least, hopefully, yeah, at least for the summer. And they've been attending school at University of Bridgeport, but they grew up here. They're part of our community, and we want to recognize their accomplishments. So Ruta here graduated with a degree in religion and politics with a double minor in languages and psychology, summa cum laude. So big accomplishment. And if you didn't know, summa cum laude is basically the highest recognition you can get in terms of your GPA. So it's basically top 2%, something like that, of your class. So it's not an easy thing to attain, not at all. So great accomplishment. And then Krista graduated actually back in December, but we never recognized her for it. So she's here, and we can do that. And she graduated with a degree in international political economics and diplomacy with a minor in modern languages. She also graduated summa cum laude. So excellent twin, in good twin fashion. Excellent. So that's really great. And later today, we'll have a presentation called Who Are We? This is a brief introduction to who we are as a church, as a community. Whether you're new to our community or whether you've been here a long time, this is a great opportunity to come. It's short. It's 20-minute presentation, but we really share about what we're trying to do as a community, what our vision is, and where we come from. So as you notice, if you're new, you recognize that we do things a little differently. We pray a little differently. We have some different songs. So you can really get a sense of who we are, get really comfortable with who we are. if you want to come to this presentation. That'll be at 12:15. It'll be in the room, French Ministry room, which is right next to the cafe here, and I'll be giving it. And so if you want to come, then please come. So this park we've been waiting for is about to open. And so grand opening is June 18th at 10 a.m. And anyone's welcome to come. And the mayor will be there. And this will be the grand opening for the park. Simultaneously, it will be the groundbreaking for phase 2 of the park. So they've already funded phase 2. They've already invested, the city's already put in, I think, $6 million for phase 2. So as soon as this is done, the guy told me they're going to start sectioning off another part of the park and start working on that. That part will have a skate park, have a kiosk for equipment rentals, basketball court, track and field, stuff like that. Probably, if I remember right, originally they were planning to have like a fruit orchard. So we're just, yeah, it's really awesome. So if you're able to come, we'll be there. We'd love to see you, and it'll be really nice. I don't know what day of the week that is. It's a Monday? Okay, it's a Monday. Yeah. June 18th. Yes. So also, we thought it'd be really nice to celebrate the opening of the park by having a day in the park. And so on Sunday, June 24th, we are going to have a day in the park. So after service, we'll play in the park. I mean, it's just an amazing park. We got to go in there, get a sneak preview, and as impressive as it looks from the outside, it's actually much more impressive on the inside. Yeah. So, so we're going to have a day out, have fun, have some fellowship. Come even if you don't have kids, fine. There's adult stuff too, like this slide, the cement slide is really quite fun. But at 4:30, we'll have a potluck dinner. So if you can come, we'd love to just have this opportunity to build community and have a fellowship time. A little testimony about the retreat coming up.
There are these two amazing people. Really, it was Richard and Mario Curry who told me about the event, and I was really excited to go. They're just amazing people, and I knew that anything they're going to be involved in was going to be awesome. And I don't know, marriage is the most important thing. It's like, for our movement, it's everything. I mean, it's where family comes from, it's where love comes from, it's where all that stuff is coming from. It's really where God gets to be manifested in the highest way.
What brought me here was David, and we heard about it, and I wasn't really sure, and it just kind of fit. Like, we didn't have the money, and we needed $300, and we had the money. We had the exact money we needed, and we wanted to work at our marriage, and it kind of like came on like we were meant to go almost.
Yeah, it like literally just fell into place.
Like we're just, we gotta fix our marriage. We gotta fix if you want to talk about it. We learned to communicate, and then like this thing happened, and we're just like, what's stopping us? Like nothing's really stopping us from coming. So you just kind of took a risk. Yeah, and this came.
So June 3rd is the last day to register for the early bird rate. After that, you have to pay more. So, we really try to make it possible that every couple can go and attend this retreat. We're not going to have too many opportunities to have these kind of retreat here in Colorado. It's really a special opportunity. So we really hope that as many of you can go and take advantage of this opportunity, that you can go. You can find a way there. So there we go. And that'll be, once again, June 29th to July 1st. And then lastly, we want to thank the Mokolo family that will be cooking next week, and the Vogenthaler family for cooking this week. Let's give them a round of applause.